Dr. Minji Kim stood in the dark laboratory, her eyes fixed on the strange metal object floating in the containment field. The probe had returned from deep space 3 days ago, but it was different now. Where once smooth human engineering had covered its surface, alien symbols now glowed with soft blue light. They changed it, she whispered to her assistant, Junho Park. Someone out there took our probe and sent it back with a message. The message had been decoded that morning, written in perfect Korean, English, and 12 other Earth languages. It was simple and terrifying. Stop all space exploration immediately. Return to your planet. Do not leave your solar system again. This is your only warning. Admiral Daeon Park entered the lab, his heavy boots echoing in the silence. He was not related to Junho, but both men shared the same worried expression. As they looked at the probe, "The President wants answers," the Admiral said. Every space agency on Earth received the same message. NASA, ESA, JAXA, KARI, everyone. They all want to know what we're dealing with. Minji touched the control panel and the probe's message played again. This time it showed images. 12 different alien species, each more advanced than humanity, had ever imagined. Their ships were massive, their technology beyond human understanding, but their message was clear. Humanity was not welcome among the stars. They call themselves the Vexery Confederation, Minji explained. 12 species working together to keep the galaxy safe from dangerous civilizations. They think we're dangerous. Admiral Park laughed bitterly. Dangerous? We can barely reach Mars without losing half our crew. What could they possibly fear? From us? Maybe that's exactly what they fear, Junho said quietly. We're unpredictable. We fight each other constantly, but we also unite when threatened. Maybe they've seen species like us before. The probe's message continued, showing images of destroyed worlds, burned cities, and empty space where star systems used to be. Aliens had done this before to other species who refused to listen. They're not bluffing, Mingi said. Look at this data. They've wiped out 17 different civilizations in the last 1,000 years. All of them were races that tried to expand. Beyond their home systems, Admiral Park studied the images with a soldier's eye. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their ships could destroy Earth's entire fleet without breaking formation. But they're giving us a choice. Why? Because, Minji said slowly, they think we're smart enough to choose survival over pride? The next morning, world leaders held emergency meetings. The decision came quickly. Humanity would comply. All space exploration missions were canceled. The Mars colonies were abandoned. The moon bases were shut down. Humanity retreated to Earth like a scolded child. For 6 months, the plan worked. Human ships stayed within Earth's orbit. The aliens seemed satisfied. There were no more messages, no more warnings. The probe sat in Minji's lab, its alien symbols dim and quiet, but then came the day that changed everything. Minji was working late in the lab. When the emergency alert sounded, where dozens the communication center, where dozens of technicians were, frantically working at their stations. What's happening? She asked. Research Station Dokdo, Admiral Park said grimly. The station had been humanity's most advanced research facility, built in orbit around Europa. 347 scientists had lived there, studying Jupiter's moon and conducting experiments in zero gravity. Among them was Dr. Taiwan Kim, Minji's husband. Gone? Minji's voice was barely a whisper. What do you mean gone? The main screen showed the debris field where the station used to be. Twisted metal and frozen air drifted in the void. There were no survivors. There was no warning. The aliens had simply destroyed it. They said it was too close to deep space, Admiral Park explained. They claimed it violated the agreement. But Dokdo was in our solar system. It was our right to be there. Minji stared at the screen, her hands shaking. Her husband's research, his dreams, his life, all of it was now scattered pieces of metal floating in space. They killed them all, she said. 347 people. Scientists, researchers, people who only wanted to learn about the universe. They murdered them. Admiral Park placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry, Minji, but now we have to decide what to do next. The world's reaction was immediate and angry. Protests filled the streets. Military leaders demanded action. But the aliens had made their point clear. Humanity was trapped on Earth. Any attempt to leave would result in death. That night, Minji sat in her empty apartment, looking at pictures of her husband. He'd always believed that humans were meant to explore the stars, to push boundaries, to never accept limits. They think they've caged us, she said to the empty room. They think we're animals who will stay quiet if they hurt us enough. She looked up at the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, the Vexery Confederation was probably celebrating. They had successfully contained another dangerous species. They had saved the galaxy from humanity's chaos. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had shown humans exactly what they were capable of. And now, humanity would begin preparing for the day when they could show the aliens what humans were capable of in return. The cage had been built, but the tiger inside was already planning its escape. 5 years had passed since the Dokdo massacre. Captain Seonho Lee had spent every one of those years preparing for this moment. He stood on the bridge of his ship, the Bulgexa, watching Titan's orange clouds swirl below them, hidden beneath. Those clouds was humanity's greatest secret, a mining operation that had been running for 3 years without the aliens knowing. "Captain," said Lieutenant Hyman Choi from her station, "we're getting massive energy readings."
Ow!
Something big is coming out of hyperspace. Seonho felt his stomach tighten. They had all known this day would come. The Vexery Confederation had found them. "How many ships?" he asked. 3 heavy cruisers, sir. Vexery design. They're heading straight for the mining platform." Through the view screen, Siona could see the alien ships materializing from the blue glow of hyperspace. They were beautiful in a deadly way, smooth, organic curves that looked more grown than built. Each ship was 3 times the size of the Bulgexa, and armed with weapons that could turn a moon into dust. "All human ships. This is Captain Lee. Execute defense pattern warring. Remember your training." The human fleet was small, only 12 ships compared to the aliens' 3. But these were not the same humans who had retreated 5 years ago. These ships had been built in secret, using technology salvaged from the Dokdo wreckage. They were fast, quiet, and deadly. The lead Vexery ship opened communications. The alien commander's voice was cold and mechanical through the translator. "Human vessels, you have violated the containment agreement. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Seonho smiled grimly. "This is Captain Lee of the Terran Defense Force. This is our solar system. You're the ones who need to leave." On the Vexery flagship Corvani, war leader Thexal studied the human formation with confusion. Intelligence reports said humans were primitive, barely capable of spaceflight. But these ships moved with purpose and coordination that suggested otherwise. War leader, his aide, hissed, "They're not retreating. They're moving to attack formation." For eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Scan their vessels."
What are their capabilities? Sir, I'm reading weapon signatures that match our own technology.
"How is that possible?" Before Thexal could answer, the human ships struck. They didn't attack like other species the Confederation had faced. Instead of forming battle lines or attempting to match firepower, they moved like a pack of wolves. The Bulgexa led the charge, diving straight at the largest Vexery ship. At the last moment, it fired a spread of missiles and rolled away. The missiles weren't meant to destroy, they were meant to blind sensors and confuse targeting systems. "What are they doing?" Thexal demanded as his ship's screens filled with static to smaller human ships used the confusion to get close. They fired strange weapons that sent electromagnetic pulses through the Vexery hull. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed. "Shields down on Section 4, an aide reported. "They're using our own technology against us." The humans pressed their attack with tactics no alien species had ever used. They worked together like they shared one mind, each ship covering the others, each attack building on the previous one. Captain Seonho watched as his plan unfolded perfectly. The humans had studied every piece of Vexery technology they could find. They'd learned how the aliens fought, how they thought, how they reacted. Most importantly, they had learned the aliens' weaknesses. And target their power cores. "Gunho, take your fighters and hit their weapon arrays. Make them hurt." The human fighters swarmed around the Vexery ships like angry insects. They were too small for the aliens' heavy weapons to target effectively, but each one carried missiles that could punch through hull plating. War leader Thexal watched in growing horror as his superior fleet took damage from the supposedly primitive. Humans, how are they doing this? Our ships are more advanced. Our weapons are more powerful. Sir, his aide said quietly, I don't think they're fighting to win. They're fighting to learn. It was true. Even as human ships were destroyed, the survivors were studying every alien response. Every weapon fired. Every defensive maneuver. They were treating the battle like a deadly classroom. The Bulgaxa took a direct hit that tore through its hull. Ciano felt the ship shudder around him, but he kept giving orders, even as the bridge filled with smoke. All ships, pattern turtle, protect the data cores. The remaining human ships formed a protective formation around the damaged vessels. They weren't trying to destroy the aliens anymore. They were trying to escape with what they had learned. They're retreating, Thexal observed. Finally. But as the human ships limped away, they left behind something the aliens hadn't expected. A message beacon, broadcasting on all frequencies in the Vexery language. You started this war when you murdered our people. Today you learn that we can fight back. Tomorrow you'll learn that we can win. Thexal stared at the message, his blood running cold. The humans had lost the battle, but they had accomplished something far more dangerous. They had proven that the Vexery Confederation was not invincible. Sir, his aide whispered, what do we do now? Thexal looked at the damage reports, the casualty lists, the tactical analysis. For the first time in his career, he didn't have an answer. The cage was still intact, but the creature inside had just shown its claws. Admiral Dayon Park stood on the bridge of the battleship Guangetto as the Vexery invasion fleet approached Earth. The alien armada was magnificent and terrifying, over 300. Ships of various sizes stretched across the void like a metal storm cloud. Each vessel was sleek and powerful, carrying weapons that could glass entire continents. Sir, reported Commander Jisoo Nam from the tactical station, they're hailing us. Standard surrender demand, Park nodded calmly.
At
Them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing war leader Thesal's familiar reptilian face. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with activity as hundreds of alien officers prepared for what they expected to be a simple occupation. Admiral. Park Dexel said, his voice carrying the confidence of assured victory. You have seen what our fleet can do. Your resistance at Titan was impressive, but futile. Surrender now, and your species will be relocated to reservation worlds. Resist, and we will turn Earth into a lifeless rock. Park smiled slightly. You know, Dexal, you made a mistake 5 years ago. What mistake? You showed us what you were capable of, but more importantly, you gave us time to prepare. Thexal's 4 eyes narrowed. Time to prepare what? We have studied your species. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your fleet is scattered. Your planet is defenseless. Is it? Park asked quietly. Computer, activate Project Tygok. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity revealed its true nature to the galaxy. The apparently empty space around Earth suddenly erupted with activity. Massive orbital platforms materialized from stealth fields, their surfaces bristling with weapons. The moon's surface split open like a flower, revealing hidden launch bays that released swarms of fighters. Impossible, Thexal breathed. Our sensors detected nothing. You were looking for your own technology, Park explained. We built something different. The asteroid belt came alive as chunks of rock revealed themselves to be disguised weapons. Platforms, space stations that had appeared to be simple mining facilities, suddenly extended massive railguns. Even the debris from the destroyed Dokdo station had been turned into a trap. Each piece of wreckage was actually a cloaked mind, Dr. Minji. Kim watched from the command center buried deep beneath Seoul. Around her, hundreds of technicians coordinated. The most complex military operation in human history. Every piece of alien technology recovered from Titan had been studied, improved, and mass-produced in secret facilities across the solar system. Phase 1 complete, she reported. All stealth systems online. beginning Phase 2. Above Earth. The first human ships began to appear. These were not the small, desperate vessels that had fought at Titan. These were warships built specifically to kill Vexery. Each one incorporated lessons learned from 5 years of captured alien technology. Combined with uniquely human innovations, Captain Minho Kong piloted the assault ship Sejong straight toward the largest Vexery dreadnought. His ship was smaller and less advanced than the alien vessel, but it carried something the Vexery had never encountered, a human crew willing to die for their world. All boarding teams, prepare for impact, Kong announced. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. The Sejong slammed into the Vexery ship's hull. Like a spear, human marines poured through the breach, their weapons designed specifically to kill aliens. They moved through the corridors with deadly efficiency, each team coordinating with the others through neural links developed from captured alien technology. War leader Thexal felt his flagship shudder as the humans carved through its defenses. How are they doing this? They're supposed to be primitives. Sir, his aide reported, panic creeping into his voice. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They're adapting to our tactics in real time. Every ship they lose, the others learn from its destruction. It was true. The humans were treating the battle like a vast experiment. Every engagement was recorded, analyzed, and shared across the fleet instantly. When one human ship discovered a weakness in Vexery armor, within minutes every other ship was exploiting the same weakness. The alien fleet, which had seemed invincible hours earlier, began to falter. Their rigid formations designed for fighting, predictable enemies, crumbled against human creativity. Where the Vexery expected honor and formal battle, they found guerrilla warfare and dirty tricks. They're boarding our ships, the Sal's aide reported. They're not trying to destroy us, they're trying to capture us. Captain Kong's Marines had reached the bridge of the Vexery dreadnought. The alien crew fought bravely, but they were facing humans who had spent 5 years learning everything about their species. Every weakness, every fear, every instinct had been cataloged and turned into a weapon. Surrender, Kong told the captured war leader. Your fleet is broken. Your advantage is gone. Tell your people to stand down, or we'll show you what humans. Due to those who threaten our home, Ixal looked around at his captured bridge, at the human soldiers who had torn through his defenses like they were made of paper. For the first time in his life, he felt something his species had never experienced. In battle, fear. You were right, he whispered to Admiral Park's image on the com screen. We made a mistake. We gave you time to prepare. Park nodded grimly. And now you're going to learn what apex predators do when someone threatens their pack. This is a creative writing request for a specific fictional story continuation that I can help with directly. I'll write part 4 of the HFY Sci-Fi Story using the Korean names and following the established narrative structure. Captain Youngman. SEO's strike fleet moved through the void like ghosts. His ship the Warang led 12 other vessels through the Kethver system, their hulls invisible to enemy sensors. Below them, the massive Vexery military shipyard hung in space like a metal city, completely unaware of the danger approaching. Target locks confirmed, whispered Lieutenant Soman Park from her weapons station. All primary objectives are marked. This was the new human doctrine: appear without warning, strike without mercy, vanish before retaliation. For 6 months, human hunter fleets had been bringing terror to worlds that had never known fear. Begin the attack, he ordered. The Vexery shipyard exploded in a chain of brilliant flashes. Docking bays, weapons platforms, and half-built warships were destroyed in the first seconds. The aliens had no time to react, no time to send distress signals. By the time they realized they were under attack, it was already too late. Secondary targets eliminated, Salman reported. Moving to capture phase. This was what made human tactics so terrifying. They didn't just destroy, they learned. Every piece of alien technology, every captured data core, every prisoner was studied and turned into a weapon against the Confederation. Commander. Arayun led her boarding team through the station's corridors. Her Marines moved with deadly precision, their weapons designed to capture rather than kill. Each alien they took alive was another source of information, another piece of the puzzle that would help humanity win the war. Bridge secured, she reported, beginning data extraction. As a Vexery commander, a tall reptilian creature named Kexstar, watched helplessly as human soldiers downloaded his ship's entire database. "You cannot win," he hissed. "The Confederation has thousands of worlds. You are just one species." Ara smiled coldly. "One species that you taught to hunt." Light years away, on the planet Zexthora, Elder Khyven watched the night sky with growing terror. The orbital defense platforms that had protected his world for centuries were burning streaks of light across the darkness. Human ships had appeared, without warning, destroying everything that could threaten them. "How many fleets do they have?" he asked his aide, a young female named Shiara. "Intelligence estimates at least 50 hunter groups," she replied, her voice shaking. "They're hitting targets across 7 sectors simultaneously. Our response fleets arrived to find empty space and debris." Khyven closed his ancient eyes. He had been one of the leaders who voted to destroy the human research station 5 years ago. At the time, it had seemed like a simple police action. Destroy a minor threat before it could grow dangerous. "We created this," he whispered. "We showed them what we could do to the innocent. Now they're showing us what they can do to the guilty." The humans had learned from every battle, every encounter, every mistake. They studied Vexery psychology, biology, and culture with the same intensity they had once studied the stars. They knew exactly how to hurt their enemies in ways that went far beyond physical damage. On the mining world of Veltar, millions of Vexery workers lived in constant fear. Human ships appeared in their skies randomly, sometimes attacking, sometimes just watching. The psychological effect was devastating. Entire populations were paralyzed by terror, never knowing when the silent predators would strike. Captain Youngman's fleet had completed their mission at Kethver. It was already moving to their next target. The Warang slipped through hyperspace like a knife through silk. Carrying captured alien technology and prisoners back to human space, Salman reported, "We're receiving updates from other hunter fleets. Operation Dokdo is exceeding all projections." Youngman nodded with satisfaction. Operation Dokdo, named after the research station the aliens had destroyed, was humanity's systematic campaign to dismantle the Vexery Confederation. Every military base, every shipyard, every strategic resource was being targeted by human hunter fleets. "Good," he said. "Make sure the prisoners understand what's happening. Want them to know that this is payback for the people they murdered." Captured Vexery commander Kexstar was taken to the ship's holding area where he joined dozens of other prisoners. They were treated well. Humans weren't cruel for the sake of cruelty. They were studied constantly, their knowledge extracted and used against their own people. "You're making a mistake," Kexstar told his human guard, a young soldier named Jinwoo Kim. "The Confederation will never surrender. We've ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years." Jinwoo looked at the alien with cold eyes. "You've been bullies for 10,000 years. But you picked the wrong species to bully this time. Across the galaxy." The message was becoming clear. The Vexery Confederation, once the undisputed masters of space, were being systematically hunted by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Human fleets appeared everywhere and nowhere, striking like lightning and vanishing like smoke. War leader the Soul, now a prisoner on Earth, watched the reports with growing horror. His people were learning what humanity's ancient prey had known. For millions of years, when humans decided to hunt something, they didn't stop until it was dead. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Vexery delegation knelt in the rebuilt Seoul Space Center. Their proud heads bowed before President Yoon Ji-han. 3 years of war had broken the once mighty Confederation. Their fleets were scattered, their worlds defenseless, their people living in constant fear of human hunter ships appearing in their skies. Elder Khyven, speaking for what remained of the Confederation leadership, could barely meet the human president's eyes. "We surrender," he said, his voice hollow with defeat. "What are your terms?" President Han studied the broken aliens before her. Behind her stood the architects of humanity's victory, Admiral Dae-Yoon Park, now Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense, and Dr. Mingi Kim, who had become Director of Interspecies Relations. The same woman who had lost her husband at Dokdo now held the fate of 12 alien species in her hands. Complete integration into the Terran Federation, President Han said simply. Your technology, your resources, your worlds, all under human oversight. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your governments will answer to human administrators.
That's
Slavery, whispered Shiara, Elder Kevin, essayed. Admiral Park stepped forward, his face hard as stone. Slavery. We offered you peace. We wanted to explore the stars together. You chose to murder our people instead? Now, you live with the consequences. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed under human rule. The Vexari species, with their advanced engineering knowledge, were assigned to rebuild the infrastructure. Their war had destroyed. They worked under human supervision, their every action monitored and controlled. Commander Era Yoon, now governor of the Zexthara sector, watched as former Vexari warriors planted crops in fields that had once been military bases. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same beings who had destroyed Research Station Dokdo were now growing food to feed human colonies. How do you find working with them? Asked Captain Youngman, SEO, visiting from his patrol route. They're efficient, Ara replied, and they're learning. Some of them actually seem to prefer this new order. They never had to worry about being attacked by other species before, and they don't have to worry about it now. It was true. Under human protection, the galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. The Terran Federation didn't rule. Through fear alone, they ruled through competence and protection. Species that submitted willingly found themselves part of something larger and more stable than anything they had known. Dr. Mingi Kim stood in her office on Luna Base.
are you viewing?
Reports from across human space. The Kethfer had become exceptional administrators, their methodical nature perfect for managing complex supply chains. The Veltar miners had adapted to human safety standards and were producing raw materials more efficiently than ever before. Director, her assistant Junho Park said, entering with a data pad. We're receiving first contact signals from the Outer Rim. 3 new species requesting communication. Mingi nodded. Word was spreading through the galaxy. There was a new power in control, and it was both merciful and deadly. Species that had hidden from the Vexari Confederation for centuries were now reaching out to humanity. Patch them through to the diplomatic corps, she ordered. Make sure they understand the rules. Join willingly, contribute meaningfully, and you'll find a place in the Federation. Threaten us or our allies, and you'll learn why the Vexari kneel before us. On Earth, War Leader Thissal worked in a research facility. Extensive military knowledge being used to help humans understand. Alien tactical thinking. It was humiliating work for a former fleet commander, but it was also strangely satisfying. For the first time in his life, his expertise was being used to prevent war rather than wage it. The new species from Sector 7, he told his human supervisor, Dr. Sun Wu Li, they're showing aggressive patterns. Based on their ship movements, they're planning some kind of strike. Dr. Li nodded and made notes. Thank you, Dexal. We'll send Admiral Park's fleet to have a conversation with them. The galaxy was learning that humanity's protection came with absolute authority. Species that tested human resolve quickly discovered that the same fleets that had hunted the Vexari were still out there, still watching, still ready to strike. President Han addressed the galaxy from her office, her words broadcast to every world under human control. We did not seek this responsibility, she said. We wanted to explore, to learn, to grow alongside you. You forced us to become rulers through your violence. Now we will rule, and we will protect what is ours. The camera panned to show the view. From her window, Earth hanging blue and beautiful in space, surrounded by the ships of the Terran Federation. But beyond Earth, the galaxy stretched infinite and dark, full of species that had not yet learned the lesson the Vexari had taught. Humanity. The galaxy is under human protection now, President Han continued, whether you asked for that protection or not. We are the apex species, and we will act like it. The age of human dominance had truly begun,